Hello and welcome to Computer St. Louis's presentation on cybersecurity. Today we'll be covering several topics, starting with how infections get started. We'll look at various attack samples. We'll talk a lot about not clicking there and the dangers of clicking on the wrong thing. We'll talk about compromised passwords and how to prevent many of the threats that you may encounter in your daily life. Finally, we'll talk about what to do if you think you've been hacked. So how does it happen? Clickbait and other forms of attacks often rely on us clicking on a malicious link in one way or another. What will happen is you will click on a malicious link either coming in through an email or a link on a website. That link will deliver something called an exploit. An exploit is not really a fully formed program. It's just a little snippet. It might even be as small as in a little bitty script. What that script does is its job is to look innocent. It's not big enough to attract the attention of antivirus software, and it's innocent enough to get through the firewall. That exploit in turn will deploy itself and eventually phone home, essentially telling the hacker, I'm here and I'm ready to deliver my package. That package delivery is really what we want to avoid, because that is when malware is delivered to your computer. It may try to spread around the network that you're on, and ultimately this entire chain can be broken by not clicking that link in the first place. Here are some examples of email attacks and what to look for in emails that you're receiving. So here we have an email from Santiago Henson providing his resume. Hi, my name is Santiago Henson. I am here with submitting my resume under attachment for your perusal. The English is pretty atrocious, and that's something to watch out for. In a lot of these emails, it's coming from countries where there is a limited amount of extradition with the United States, and so poor English is something to watch out for. The other thing to watch out for in this particular email is a zip file. We often block zip files because they are a definite threat vector. I would never open a zip file unless you know the sender it's coming from and you're expecting it. Here's another email purportedly from ADP, which a lot of people use ADP for their payroll. Again, if you look at the English, please not try to reply to this message, automated notification system unable to accept incoming mail. The English is pretty atrocious. That's something to watch out for. Here's something from FedEx purportedly, but if you look, this is technically not from FedEx, but FedEx.com. And that's something you can often look for. Look for where it's coming from. Take a look at that email address, because a lot of times it is not coming from the person you know. It is coming from another site. In all of these cases, at least the ADP and the FedEx case, don't click on the link that they're providing. This link. If you click on those links, you've already failed, because now you're giving them information, at least the information that your email address is a good one, and they should try to attack again. Go straight to the URL. If you are expecting a package from FedEx, if you do work with ADP, go to FedEx.com, go to ADP.com. Open up a web browser, go straight to the URL. There is no reason to click on that link. You are much better off going straight to the source and entering your login information that way. Here we have another interesting email attack to look at. And the interesting thing here is that there is no link. So that's important, because it's very hard to filter something like this out. All it has is an 800 number, a toll-free number for people to call. The thing to watch out for, again, if you look at the sending address, This is a randomly generated Gmail account. Those are free and very easy to set up. If you look at the email, the only personalized information they really have is our user's email address. Everything else is generic. So there's really not a whole lot for a spam filter to go off of. If we catch an email like this, we will try to apply filters against it. But honestly, the big one here is don't fall for it. Don't call that toll-free number. As I'm saying in my note, verify your contact information before calling a number on an email. If you don't think you're subscribed to this and you don't recognize that number, I wouldn't call it. But this also points to the industry nature of hacking. Someone is paying for an 800 number to be maintained, and someone is manning the phones at that 800 number. And I guarantee if you called that number, you would get a very friendly person who would talk you into giving them your credit card information so they could look up your account. And as soon as they did, you would have a very friendly charge on your account. So the big one here is just be a little suspicious, verify information, and don't fall for it. Malvertising is a very popular form of malware. If it sounds too good to be true, it is the bottom line. $100 in free ads. Why would they give you $100 in free ads or a $1,000 Amazon gift card just for taking a survey? I don't think the survey is that valuable. I don't think there's any reason to give away $100 in free ads other than to get your contact information. If it sounds too good to be true, avoid it. Chromium Labs reported this several years ago, but it's still definitely true. 27% of the Alexa 1000 websites were delivering malware via malicious advertisements. The Alexa 1000 is kind of like the most popular websites in the world. So 27%, 270 websites were delivering malware somehow. The important thing to think about is even a website that you consider to be clean and on the level, potentially, if the quality control isn't there, they're delivering some kind of malware. Clickbait is very common in social media. It usually is designed to trigger an emotional response. They will write anything and try anything just to get you to click. They want you to follow them, but they really just want you to click on the article that's going to draw you probably off of your social media site and onto a website where it will be coated in advertising. My advice is try not to share things if you don't know who it's coming from, even if you agree with it 100%. A lot of times it is being generated by a malicious entity who is trying to get you to click on their stuff. Fake updates, something to watch out for. You'll see this on websites. For instance, you are using an older version of Chrome, but this is being published by thetechhouse.com. The last time I checked, if I was looking for a Chrome update, I would definitely be going to Google. And that is certainly true in this case. You do not get Chrome updates from thetechhouse.com. I would argue that if you are ever seeing this on a website, you're using an older version of Chrome, update Chrome, stuff like this, maybe think about not visiting that website anymore, because clearly quality control is not their goal. The government guidance in terms of what to do about malware and hacking: lock your doors, get a firewall, get antivirus, update patches. The government guidance is basically secure yourself as best as you can, because they also say the ransomware is that good. To be honest, we often just advise people just to pay the ransom. So as I said before, the extradition treaties with a lot of these countries isn't fantastic. There are a lot of hackers out there in the world. if the FBI tried to go after all of them, we would be buried. It would be probably the #1 budget item in the US government. They simply do not have the manpower to pursue them all. If you are ransomwared and you don't have a good backup and disaster recovery solution in place, like we provide for most of our clients, you will lose all of your data. And no one will be able to get it back unless you pay the ransom. We have talked to companies who have been able to pay the ransom. We've also talked to companies who were not able to pay the ransom simply because they could not accumulate enough Bitcoins in time. Compromised passwords are a way into your IT world. What will happen is a website will get hacked, and that the hacker will sell the login information. So a good example is Yahoo. Yahoo has been hacked numerous times, and when they get hacked, large amounts of the email that they hold in their mail application were given out with username and password. So for instance, I am Brian Prassi at yahoo.com. I still have that email address. A hacker purchased that list, and here are some examples. Popular Mechanics reported that 272 million hacked email accounts were for sale for $1 or best offer. ZDNet in 2019 reported that a hacker was putting up for sale a third round of hacked databases on the dark web. And here the Register is reporting in 2019 as well, 620 million accounts stolen from 16 hacked websites for sale on the dark web. So in all these cases, a hacker has a long list of username and passwords. That hacker could very well be a middleman who purchased the hacked login information and is now selling it on the dark web. At this point, another hacker, or possibly the same one, but usually it's a tiered multi-billion-dollar industry. So usually these are all different entities, sometimes organizations. The third party involved in this chain is going to attempt to use those username and password combinations everywhere they possibly can. So in my case, they would have been trying to use Brian Prassi at yahoo.com plus the password I had for that email account on other websites, presuming that I was using the same username and password at all those sites. If you ever want to find out, have I been password owned, have I been pawned, you can go to haveibeenpawned.com, put in your email address, and it will tell you how many times your email has been compromised and where it was found. It's a good place to scare yourself, and it will come back up at the end of the presentation because a lot of people usually like to go there. So, prevention, passwords. Here's what we recommend. We recommend you change your website login passwords periodically. We recommend that you use a different password for every website that you log into. We recommend that it's as complex as possible. So, as many characters as they will allow, as numbers and symbols. A long sentence or passphrase can be very effective and memorable if you have trouble with any of this stuff. So for instance, I had a password that said something like "Beth is the best wife ever!" That, and I believe I replaced some of the letters with the vowels with numbers. That way I include all of these various requirements. It can be effective and memorable. It's nice. Above all, you don't want to save your passwords in a browser. Browsers are very easily compromised, and it's just a dangerous place to leave them. If someone just jumps on your PC, all of a sudden they can have access to pretty much everything you're doing. What we recommend is using a password manager. So LastPass and Keeper are both really good. They have free options. Something that is really nice too is you can use them, as you can see on the right, to generate and maintain different passwords. So you can see over here we have a 50-character long password that is using uppercase, lowercase, symbols, numbers, And the nice thing about LastPass and Keeper, they also will differentiate the various character types by color. So if you have to look it up on your phone and enter it manually somewhere, you will know right away the difference between, for instance, a number 0 and an uppercase O. The nice thing as well is there's only one password to remember. So you remember one password. You can stick this application on your phone, on your computer. It will integrate with a number of different browsers. It's just very useful. And just having one password to remember is nice. You can change it frequently. You could use a long passcode like I talked about. One thing that's also really nice is that you can retain notes on reset questions. I have had several instances in my life where I am trying to get back into an account that I haven't accessed in years, and it is asking me, what is my favorite car? Which was a very subjective question, and I had a heck of a time remembering what that was. Another thing that's nice, and this isn't available to everyone, but if you have a business account, you can share passwords out among your colleagues at work, which can be very, very useful. So you can maintain a single account with a vendor that everyone can get into, and it makes life a little bit easier. Multi-factor authentication is wonderful. It basically means multiple methods of authentication to boost security. So this often takes the form of a text message sent to your cell phone. You can also install authentication apps that will send tokens and refresh them periodically to your cell phone. And then there are hardware tokens. The hardware token is a little bit tougher. They're inexpensive. They only cost usually about $20. The downside is, for me, when I walk out of the house and my cell phone isn't in my pocket, alarm bells are going off in my head. I definitely know when I've walked out of the house without my cell phone, and I'm very likely to turn the car around. A hardware token, we hear about it frequently where people leave them at home, where they misplace them. It's just more easily lost. A lot of people prefer it because they don't want to put the Authenticator app on their phone, but Authenticator apps are really light and easy. We love multi-factor authentication, and we will gladly help you set it up wherever you need it. It's often given away for free because most vendors out there know that multi-factor authentication will prevent hacks, so they're willing to give it away. They want to encourage people to use it, and we want to encourage you to use it as well, because the chances of getting hacked when you have multi-factor set up properly and well are extremely very, very low. Wire fraud is a big deal. It impacts a lot of clients. It's especially important to watch out for companies in the accounting, real estate, financial services industries where there are large monetary transactions going back and forth, but it could impact anyone. The Butcher case happened in Denver several years ago, and it's a great case study in what can go wrong catastrophically. So in this case, a hacker gained access to an email account, and that's all it took. They were in a real estate agent's email account, and instead of blowing it and sending out emails to all the real estate agents' contacts or something like that, they sat very quietly and watched emails going back and forth. They did their homework, and they monitored looking for a large cash transaction. And they found it in the Butchers. The Butchers had sold their home and were, I believe, downsizing, but they had $267,000 in cash sitting in a bank account waiting to purchase a new home. A couple days before closing, the hacker emailed accurate wire instructions to the buyers. So what I think occurred is the title company sent a preliminary closing statement. So the hacker had very close numbers in terms of, they had the right date and amount. They had a lot of details, and the timing, so they timed it very well. They basically sent out a closing statement 2 days prior to closing. The thing the butchers could have watched out for was the hacker changed the friendly name in the email going out, so it said it was from the title company person, but the domain name and the email address it was coming from were wrong. So it was coming from their real estate agent's email account, not the title company's account. It just looked like it was coming from the title company person. The butchers followed their instructions, and Wells Fargo called them and said, there may be fraud. We're detecting a fraudulent transaction. I believe the butcher's response was, no, we're buying a house, it's fine. Then a few hours later, the real title company emailed them the real closing statement, and they panicked. In the end, Wells Fargo was unable to stop the wire. They stonewalled. They actually could have helped. There were things that Wells Fargo could have done and failed to do. And in the process, the butchers were out $267,000 in cash. I believe they wound up having to live with their kids while this lawsuit got resolved. It was a nightmare situation for them. So how do you defeat it? Communication is key. If you can start this conversation early with your colleagues, your partners, your vendors, and say, we're definitely aware of fraud. We've heard about fraud in the industry, and we want to take steps to be careful about it. It's a good thing. Encourage communication. Can't say it enough. It's very important to make sure that people are talking to each other. And this goes to the bosses out there. It is a good thing when your employees are asking you, hey, did you really want me to buy $500 in gift cards on Amazon? You don't need to beat them up when the answer is no. If anything, you should be, thank you for coming to me with this. I definitely didn't ask for that. And maybe even call Computers St. Louis and find out how that email got through. But the big one is, don't beat people up for communicating. It's a good thing to verify, especially over the phone or in person. Monetary transactions. Electronic transactions are extremely convenient. ACH and wire is it's essential to business. We understand. You're going to be doing it. It's part of life these days. If you can avoid an electronic transaction, if it's convenient to pay by paper check, it's much harder to hack something like that. The big one is planning ahead. Verify everything you're getting. If it's not a regular payee or if it's not a regular payer, then you may want to take a few extra verification steps. And one thing my boss Seth brought up was talk to your banker about positive pay. It's something we do on our bank accounts. Some financial institutions will allow it, will add it for free. Some it's an additional cost, but basically it adds another step of verification to the process. It's something that may not be available on personal accounts, but it should be available on all business accounts. It's something definitely worthwhile looking into, and it can help. It's not a panacea, but it will help verify payments going out and make sure you're not sending $30,000 to a hacker. Finally, verification steps. Making sure your colleagues have good contact information is critical. If you can, if you're a real estate agent, you're getting into a real estate transaction, it's a good idea to provide your client with a contact sheet with your contact information, maybe with other people like home inspector, title company. Make sure that they have contact information that they can refer to so they can verify things. And the big one is making sure that the people you're working with aren't calling numbers on an email or responding to emails, that they can go back to a good contact sheet from you that they know is legitimate. And that way, much like we talked about in the spam email where you don't want to click on that link, you want to avoid calling a number on an email. So providing that contact information early on is a good thing. Paranoia is okay. Paranoia might eat 5 minutes of your time, but 5 minutes of your time, I guarantee, is worthwhile versus losing thousands and thousands of dollars. And even if you can recover it, which a lot of times it can't be recovered, 5 minutes is a bargain, especially in the butcher's case where they lost $267,000. We can apply email banners as a preventative step if we are managing an exchange for you. And the way it works is you will see this top email banner here, external email, open links and attachments with caution, on emails coming from outside of your domain. So if you worked at computerstlouis.com and someone emailed you from any other domain, you would see this open links and attachments with caution, external email warning on anything coming from outside of the Computer St. Louis domain. The second banner, this is an external email and the sender may not be who they claim to be, is the second thing we can do. And we basically come up with a list of VIPs, usually the CEO, the CFO, the COO, people with C in their title. And what it's doing is saying, Seth Russell is the owner of our company. If someone is sending an email in from Gmail or anywhere that is not Computer St. Louis with a friendly name of Seth Russell, it is going to get this warning saying this is coming from the outside and the sender may not be who they claim to be. I would definitely caution your people at your company from sending emails in from personal email into the business. It's a bad practice. They're much better off using their own company email for all business purposes. But the important thing is a lot of times we'll see people impersonate the boss. So they'll go on LinkedIn and they'll get publicly available information. They will set up a Gmail account with a random email address, but they'll set the friendly name to your boss's name. And the important thing is we want to encourage a verification step where it is saying this and the person at your company is going to check in with the boss and make sure that the boss did indeed ask to send $520 gift certificates to a recipient in Thailand. The boss will never ask you to do that, by the way, but that is one of the more common things that we see. The boss says, I want you to send 50 Amazon gift certificates somewhere. The boss is never going to ask you to do that, and it's definitely worthwhile giving them a call and making sure that they are not indeed doing that. Public Wi-Fi. It is easily hacked. It is easily spoofed as well. Hackers will drop off a tiny little Raspberry Pi device, plug it into a bread company outlet, and impersonate the St. Louis Bread Company Wi-Fi. I'm picking on St. Louis Bread Company, but we've seen this at a lot of different, Taco Bell, like fast food places that provide public Wi-Fi. People will come along, they will drop off a little device, they'll plug it in the corner where they find an outlet, and they're basically stealing information from people who connect to it. The best solution is just don't do business on public Wi-Fi. They're easily hacked and they're easily spoofed. It's better not to do business on it. Plus, a lot of times cellular data plans are unlimited, or there's a lot of data available. You're better off using it as long as you've got a decent plan. If you absolutely have to use public Wi-Fi and you're working out of your laptop, we recommend using a VPN or having DNS proxy set up on it. If you're one of our monitoring or managed clients, there is a good chance DNS proxy is running. Just contact us, we can help you set it up or make sure that it is set up on your laptop. If you need VPN, and again, you're one of our monitoring or managed clients, we can help you set that up too. Sometimes VPN isn't the best solution, but if you're needing to work remotely, we can figure out what a good secure solution for you will be. On your laptop, when you join a wireless network, it's going to ask you if you want your PC to be discoverable. Turn that off. You never need to be discoverable. I can't think of a reason why you would ever need to be discovered on the network. Cell phones, we recommend turning off Wi-Fi when you're not using it. I am certainly guilty of leaving it on, but if you can get in the habit of turning it off when you're not using it, it's a good habit to be in. Also, automatic network discovery is a setting inside your cell phone. It's basically when it's turned on, your cell phone will be prompting you, saying, oh, you're in range of these wireless providers, do you want to join? Turn that off. It's a good idea to have that off because you just don't want to open the door. And it's like an invitation that you just don't need to have. Antivirus. We recommend Panda and WebRoot right now. We are a vendor agnostic company, so right now it's Panda and WebRoot. 6 months from now, it might be somebody else. They are both good antivirus solutions. They run in the background, they're light on your system. They both have computer learning or heuristics. Basically, if it waddles and quacks, it's probably a duck. So what that means is on the first day when no one has ever seen this threat before, Panda and WebRoot are pretty good at saying, boy, that's suspicious. One of the big differences between Panda and WebRoot, and the reason Panda typically costs more, is Panda actually has 2 teams that work 24 hours a day to actually review those first day threats and either whitelist or blacklist them. If it gets blacklisted by one team, the other team will take over and start working on remediation for that threat. Both feature built-in malware protection. If you are subscribed to other software, say in your personal life, and you're deep into a subscription and you don't feel like changing antivirus in the middle of it, and your software does not feature malware protection, Malwarebytes.com has a free scanner. You can go to that website, you can install it, you can run a full scan, and then as soon as it's done, assuming it doesn't come up with anything, just delete it, remove it from your computer. But it's a good thing to download their free software once a year or so and just run a full scan. The bottom line, the big one here is don't disable antivirus to make something work. Disabling antivirus is the first step a lot of malware will run. If someone claiming to be from Microsoft calls you up, Microsoft will never call you on the phone, by the way. The first thing those crooks will do, they get on your computer, they shut off antivirus, and then they start loading your computer up with garbage. If anyone is ever asking you to disable antivirus, if you see something that's trying to run and it will not run with antivirus running, I would be very suspicious of it, and it might be time to give us a call and just verify that what you're doing is the right thing. So, if you think you've been hacked, don't panic. Maybe panic a little. Panicking a little is not a bad thing as long as it's keeping you moving in the right direction. The important thing is, if you think you've been hacked, you want to take steps quickly. The sooner you act, the better off you are. If you think your email is infected, the first thing we're going to recommend is to change your password. You might as well get started right away. You might be calling us, but at the same time, I would be going through a password change process. We can walk you through it if you can't figure it out on your own, but seriously, that's the first thing we're going to say is let's change those passwords. So if you want to get started on that, by all means. If someone is in your computer or you think that your computer is actively infected and it's getting worse, we recommend unplugging from your network and disconnecting from wireless. So that little F2 button, if you see the little radio tower looking icon next to it, that is your wireless radio on a laptop. When you deactivate wireless, you will see a big radio tower in the middle of your screen with a big slash through it. And that is, I'm going to highlight it here real quick. So this is the guy to look out for right here. That's a good move. Honestly, if you think you're actively infected and you can't figure out where your network plug is, and here's a network plug, that's what that looks like. If you can't figure out where that is, you can't figure out how to turn off the wireless radio, there's nothing like just yanking the power cord on a desktop or on a laptop. Yanking the power cord won't do anything because it has batteries, but you can hold the power button down. Shut the thing down and give us a call, and we can talk you through coming back on in a way that will be safe and relatively efficient. If you manage to get everything disconnected and you feel like whatever it is that's infecting your computer isn't spreading, you can always open up your antivirus and run a full scan. If anything, it may not find any threats, and you may think, okay, something else is going on. Whatever it is, my encouragement is always give us a call. We can verify whether you've been hacked or if something else is going on. Sometimes computers, an update will happen and it just slows you down. But there's nothing like calling us to verify whether you've been actually hacked or not. And it's much better, as my mom always said, it's much better to be safe than sorry. So to review, make sure you and your colleagues have solid contact information. Coach colleagues to use the phone, and always encourage verification. At the same time, you want to, if people are discouraging verification, then a conversation needs to be had. You want people to verify, especially over the phone. In person's even better, but minimum, encouraging verification over the phone. There's nothing like it. Don't click there. Don't be swayed, don't be triggered by things you see online. If it's getting you, if it sounds too good to be true, if it's making you mad or sad and you just can't believe it, you are much better using discretion and avoiding it altogether. We recommend going straight to the URL and not clicking on the link. So if you're getting an email from a vendor that you know and trust, go straight to that vendor's website. Don't click on the link in the email. And I would be in the habit of doing that. Use a password manager. We can help you get it set up. They're good. They help you balance and manage a whole lot of passwords that you'd never be able to remember on your own. And they help you avoid having a giant long piece of paper with 1 million passwords on it that you will lose. We recommend enabling two-factor authentication when it's offered, and we can help you set it up if you need help. Avoid public Wi-Fi, subscribe to antivirus software, and if all else fails, give us a call. We are here to help and happy to do it. As promised, haveibeenpawned.com. It's a great place to go. Scare your pants off sometimes. If you put in certain email addresses, you might find you've been hacked a lot of times, and it's a great encouragement to start mixing up those passwords and making sure you're not using the same email and password combination on all your logins. I'm going to leave that up there for a couple more seconds. And thank you very much for your time. As always, if you're having any problems, I'll say it again, please give us a call. Thank you very much, and it has been a pleasure.